Peace. I am Dr. Phillip Roundtree, and you are tuned into hashtag You Good Man, a safe space for real conversation about mental health, healing, and what it means to move through this world as a Black man. Today, I'm joined by Arron Muller, therapist, speaker, father, husband, and author of The Hidden Cost of Black Exceptionalism. Arron, glad to have you here, good brother.
Peace, man. Peace. Thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Now, before we dive in, I want to start with where I always start. How are you feeling right now? Or more specifically, you good man?
So I'm feeling a great space. A little anxiety. I'm in the doctoral program, so that you know how that goes.
Congrats, congrats.
Thank you. So that has me, in a variety of ways. But I'm pushing through. I'm pushing through. So just navigating that, coupled with all those other titles that you said. So just doing all of that at one time.
Word. So what I'll say is, and I don't know if this might scare you or it might encourage you. I don't know. But when I started my doctoral program, I had a little bit of hair left. You know
Oh,
what I mean? And then by the end of it, it was like, all right, I need to come on home. Let me come.
oh,
The
wow.
edges wasn't edging, and so it was just like, all right, let me come on home. But no,
Uh,
for sure,
I
salute
can
to you,
imagine.
man. I know that journey and navigating all that you're navigating it can be trying at times, may have you questioning, should I be doing this? The answer is always yes. What I tell folk when it comes to doctoral programs, it's a war of attrition. Right? It's
Yeah,
not about you not having the knowledge. You got the knowledge, you got the experience. It's that new addition. Can you stand the rain?
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
all it is. For
Agreed,
sure.
agreed.
For sure.
No, I
So
appreciate
with that being oh, no doubt. With that being said, you become known as the Black therapist. What pushed you to bring that work into a public space, especially for brothers?
So I didn't see us. Back I graduated social work school back in 2012. I did not see us being a part of conversations. I knew that we were hurt in silence in the classrooms. I didn't see. I'm like, well, I'm the only male in this classroom, right? So I'm like, there's something has to be done about this, and recognizing that we black men we go through so much. I'm like, how are we not represented in social work? How are we not represented in the helping field? So I said, you know what? I got to do something. And I said, since I graduated, I got to get to that next level.
Word, and I love to hear your kids in the background. That's what this is, man. This is a family conversation, right? So it's a beautiful thing to hear the laughter, and your daughter gets to watch daddy do work,
Yeah,
right? And more so, not even necessarily. Matter of fact, let's switch that. Not even do work. She gets to watch daddy have an impact, right?
absolutely.
And have an impact on black folk. And I know we might get frustrated when it's like, oh, baby, shh. No. She's watching daddy lead.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and mommy too, and mommy too,
And
because
no doubt, no
yeah,
doubt, no doubt. Yeah. We can't live mommy out. We
because
definitely
she's a psychologist too. So we both at one time. I'm in one room, she's in the other, doing sessions. You know what I'm saying? They call it session mom and dad, and and they're here. That's one thing that we could afford the opportunity to work from home, and they could sit so they know all things they know about life matters. That's our practice. So that's all they know.
yeah. And just bringing up what you didn't see during your schooling and
Right.
once you got in your professional career, right? Is leadership,
Yeah.
right? And seeing
Absolutely.
us in spaces pushing back against that white supremacist narrative about how black folk are and all the things our experiences and how that may have negatively impacted, which no doubt the trauma has, but it's so important for us to be seen as leaders as well. And I think that's what you're doing in your work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely what my intention was, and that's where the Black Therapist name came from. I wanted something that really resonate with people, and feel like, wow, the Black Therapist, because you didn't really see that, right? Especially a black male. So I wanted something that would really stand out, and just to lead the charge, right? And that's so many things that I've done throughout the years is things I didn't see, right? So I wanted to create that.
Yeah. I mean, you're taking that something that often feels so private for us and making it visible and making it accessible. So again, I want to show love and appreciation just for you and the work that you do and the work that your wife does as
Thank
well.
you, appreciate it.
For sure, for sure. So with that being said, what's the one thing you think traditional therapy still misses when it comes to black men?
So, you can't talk about mental illness. You can't talk about healing without talking about oppression, without talking about systemic racism, about talking about hypermasculinity, about talking about generational trauma. So we have to incorporate that into our traditional therapy. But that it could often feel like a vacuum, but we have to be inclusive and include all of that. If we don't, we're neglecting the very essence of what Black men needs, and that's something that I'm focusing on with my dissertation, which is going to be something about culture adaptive interventions for Black men, and recognizing that it's not just traditional therapy practices alone, but it's other cultural pieces that's important that we need to include.
Word. It's needed. Trust me, it's needed. As I was doing my dissertation, which is also on Black boys and Black men, when you go to the literature, because it ain't us.
Right.
They, it's not us doing research on us. We see a lot of, white folk, and again, some are well-meaning for sure, right? But it's not necessarily us in the cultural context that a lot of this takes place in. As you brought up, ideas like systemic racism, intentional oppression, and so forth. This these conversations must be happening if we're talking about engaging with Black boys and Black men specifically, because we know they're not showing up in the textbook, but we know that they're real.
No, that and that's why having Black researchers be a part of academia is so vital, and we don't see that a lot. And I think that's why that's what kind of pushed me to go back also to bring that voice again, leading the charge. And there are people out there, but we need more. We need more. We need more voices in the research to bring that relevant data, right? To bring that to the work that we're doing, right? We see the push about Black men going to therapy, right? I trademark Black Kingsley therapy too, but if we don't have kind of the interventions and strategies in place and to address that, then it's kind of just okay, well, going to therapy, but then what, right? So when I recognize the then what, it's like, okay, I need to go a step further, right? We need more cultural interventions and looking at other ways that we could get brothers into therapy and retain, because I'm looking at research on the retention and engagement of Black men in therapy, because that therapeutic rapport is so important. So it's not just enough just to get them in there, but we got to get them to stay and be
Yeah.
consistent with therapy.
What you bring up highlights this idea of and the foundation of Black liberation psychology, where they looked at these three pillars. You had deconstruction. It's this recognition that, hey, Eurocentric psychology, yeah, there's some nuggets in there that may be beneficial, but as a whole, in the understanding, it's not necessarily meant for folk of the diaspora. And then this reconstruction aspect. Okay, you know what? We need to go and figure out what it means to have this higher level of self-consciousness as Black folk. We need to start going into the archives and realize who we are as a people, because again, psychology didn't start with white folk, right? We recognize that this is something else that's been colonized over time, another field that's been colonized over time. And lastly, this reconstruction piece, which you're speaking to, is okay, now we have these Black folk in therapy. What does this look like? We need culturally relevant tools.
Right.
Yes, CBT can be useful, but CBT isn't addressing the hundreds of years of the impact of chattel slavery, right? It's not impacting these. It's just saying, hey, you have this thought, you need to change this thought, but it's
Right.
not really getting to the meat of our experiences.
Right.
So again, the what you're talking about and what you intend to do and what you're doing in your research is so beneficial.
Absolutely. And if I'm being continuously oppressed, I can't change my thoughts and my patterns because I'm still dealing with that every
Exactly.
day, right? So I'm still dealing with covert and overt racism. So how do I navigate that? And my therapist is telling me, you know what, your thoughts become your feelings, and let's do a mood journal, right? That's cool, right? We can do a mood journal and all of that, but yo, it's real out here that I'm dealing with, right? So we got to address that also.
I want to bring up something. I live in Philly, you live in New York, so it's this Northeast thing, right? And I'm sure you have it there too, where there's this block in the Germantown section of Philadelphia, Ashmead Street. There is literally a cop car parked there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And so some folk may look at it and what they may spin it, the city may spin it as, hey, this is maybe a high crime area, just the
Right.
safety and all of these things. But what does this do to the consciousness of a people when you constantly walk out and you have to be under surveillance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, to your point, if I go to a therapist and say, listen, I don't feel the best about myself, well, we need to change that. Let's get the journal. Let's do all these, mindfulness activities. But yet I still got to walk past this police car that's watching me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's reinforcing this idea that my presence alone and people that look like me are cause community harm.
Yeah, and reinforces hypervigilance, and we know hypervigilance as agitation, as irritability, and it
Yep.
goes
Yep.
down the road from there. So absolutely. So that's why this continued work is so important, so that brothers can have a space to be heard and understood when they have to deal with all of those issues.
Exactly, exactly. So you're a husband, a father, a business owner. You wear fitted hats. Even I thought it was a Yankees hat. I was going to say,
No, no,
yeah.
no.
All right, but it's not. All right, I wasn't
No,
sure because I know
this my homie brand, Gildia Brothers and Briefcases. So got to represent it. This is about black elevating black and brown voices of men. So this is a
for
dope.
sure. Say it one more time.
This is Brothers and Briefcases by Gildia Lopez. Yeah,
Okay.
I always rock this, and she has a class every year elevating the voices of black men in different areas, and black and brown men in different areas of whatever lawyers, doctors, therapists, everybody.
And the reason why I had you say it again is because it's important that we highlight folk who care about black men in a
Definitely
world in
got
a
to.
world where you could scroll and see black men being harmed, you could see vitriol, you could see so much when it comes to black men. We must continuously highlight folk who
This is
care
a
and
sister,
love on black
right? And
men.
this is a sister that's doing that, right? So definitely, thank you,
No
appreciate.
doubt. No doubt. So again, I'll start over. You're a husband, a father, a business owner. What's something you've had to unlearn to show up fully in those roles?
Wow. So definitely boundaries, because I'm the type of dude like, oh, you need that? Okay, let me do it real quick. Like I was talking to my mom this morning, like my sister needed something, and she was like, okay, when you have a chance, and like I did it immediately, right? And she was like, she said, I don't know how you do it, and that's kind of like how I am. And it's a benefit, but sometimes it could be overwhelming trying to do everything at one time, right? So I think learning that I could say, okay, I'll do a little bit later, or learning that I can't say yes to every engagement or every opportunity that comes. So just learn, like, I really want to be there, really want to support people, really want to elevate, mental health in our community, but also recognizing that there's times where I do need to pause, right? Being intentional about taking pauses and things like that. So I had to learn that I can't attend every event. I can't say yes to everything. And I can't say, well, I can't right now, but I'll do it in a few. Or I can't come to your event, but I could support with a donation. You know what I'm saying? So learning that, right? And not having that guilt that, man, I didn't show up, or, I didn't do it right away and things like that. So I had to learn that um, the hard way.
Yeah, that's important, right? That's important because when we talk about boundaries, we're talking about peace. So,
Yes.
with that being said, what comes up for you in the event where somebody reaches out and say, I'm about to call you, we'll call you Dr. Muller, right? Because we're speaking it into existence. It's just a formality. So if they like Arron Muller, Dr. Muller, can you speak at our event? Can you help me with such and such? What comes up for you when you say you can't?
It's like being a disappointment, right? So I
Mhm.
look at it this way. This person reached out to me and asked me, right? So clearly they find value in me, right? And it's hurtful when you can't, right? So that's my stuff, right? But because it's not. I don't know if it's people pleasing. I don't think it is. It's just like I like to help. I think that's what kind of, I'm, God fearing guy. So I think God, not think He put me in this position, because outside of this, I'm not a talkative person. I'm a pretty chill, quiet person. So to be elevated to this level that I am and speaking all the other stuff, it can't be me. It has to be the God that put me in this position, right? So I don't take that lightly when I'm asked to do things, right? So I think that's where, I feel bad, honestly feel bad. But I had to unlearn that, and that there's certain things that I can do and certain things I can't do, and I can't allow myself to feel bad about that, right? Because ultimately I have to make sure that I'm well. And if I'm doing so many different things, I really can't do it. right? So it's not like I'm just chilling, laying down all the time. It's like I'm doing other things, or I'm actually resting, right? And I think that's also valuable. That I have to recognize that I do have to rest.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason why I wanted you to articulate the feelings related to that is because so often so many brothers find ourselves in this space where we have to be John Henry, where we
Yeah,
have to do it all.
right.
And we ignore how we're feeling about it. We ignore the rest. We ignore even just not wanting to do it because that's good enough too. But especially when when your life's work is centers community, it
Yeah,
can be extremely difficult to say no. And so by you putting voice to that, I think that'll free a lot of people up who may be watching this to say, yeah, yeah, I may feel bad because both things can be true.
both things could be true.
You can feel bad, but also recognize that this may be momentary, but also I need to rest and recoup and recover because I need to be here for the long haul too.
Absolutely right. And I think oftentimes we identify uh, what we do or things as part of our self worth and as part of as
Mhm.
being a man, and recognizing that it's not just the things that we do, right? That's is more than that, right? We don't have to constantly. Doesn't have to be transactional. It doesn't have to be tasks that you do in order to say that I'm showing up as a husband, I'm showing up as a father, I'm showing up as a dad, right? As a son, right? It's not just tasks that you do, but it's also just emotional things, being present, being able to listen, right? So I think those also recognizing that it doesn't have to be task oriented all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And just to recap, like that unlearning can open up space for peace, right? But we know that it's not easy. And so with your ebook really spoke to that, the hidden cost of black exceptionalism. First, what inspired you to write it and who did you write it for?
Wow. So I wrote it for the black man that uh celebrated for being a strong one, right? But he's like quietly falling apart, right? I've experienced that, right? It's put into language that exhaustion, right? Just overwhelming exhaustion. You accomplish all of these goals, but constantly you're the example for people, this high functioning, high achieving, but then you just feel like tired, right? So I wrote that specifically for that those men. There's a workbook there, things that you could write down, just to find space and find voice that black excellence, right, doesn't mean that you have to exhaust yourself, and finding peace
Mm,
in that, not finding guilt, like how I talked about that guilt, right, but just finding that balance in all that you do, right, and that desire to overachieve, right, and sometimes that overachievement comes from being in the space of trauma, whether it's poverty or whatever, right? So he's like, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna do this, right? But then it becomes exhaustion because you're just pushing, 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 and going, and not taking time to pause. And I find the black men I've been working with, been working with them on finding the space to pause without guilt. That you can be
mhm.
intentional about, this is my time off. If and sometimes you need to schedule it. And I said we'll work with you with that. Like, put it in your calendar. I'm not doing anything between these hours. Sometimes we have to start with that. It may seem silly, but we have to start with scheduling that time, and then it becomes natural over time. But that's where the hidden cost of black exceptionalism came from. Those men, and sisters too. Our sisters purchased the book and found it very, very valuable, just in terms of taking time to pause and always having to be the strong one, and it's just so exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. Our day-to-day doesn't necessarily make room for us to pause, for us to reset. That's not how capitalism works,
Right.
right? And so our commodity that we offer capitalism is our bodies, right? Is our minds. And so it's going to take as much as it can. It's going to extract as much as it can out of us unless you're intentional and you say, "Hey, hold up, you know what? I'm using my sick days. I'm using my personal time. Why? Because you know what? I ain't coming. I just don't want to." Again, without the guilt associated with it, right? So you have to, and we have to put our wellness at the forefront because we realize these companies do not love us. These
No.
businesses do not love us. They will extract as much as they can. Can it become difficult when we're talking about navigating familial relationships and so forth? For sure. Right. Because when you're a father, when you're a husband, when you're a partner, et cetera, you may be asked more, right?
Yeah.
More may be required of you, but it should never come at the expense of your survival and you being able to live.
Yeah, and recognizing that those moments too, because I think where things occur or things happen, whether it be medically, right, or people kind of blow up, is because they've reached their breaking point and then recognize it. So I think also having a thermometer and recognizing like, well, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I think it's time that I need to do this X, Y, and Z to take care of myself. People own businesses and things like that. So I work with business owners, thought leaders, and things like that. So they have a lot going on. So it's hard to just say no to everything, but recognizing those moments where, okay, I'm gonna take a break today, or I'm gonna take a day off and actually do something that I enjoy, and not finding guilt in doing those things. So just find that we're not taking care of our health. I know that you don't play with the gym, so like being intentional about those things and how important that is.
Word, word. You said your excellence doesn't have to come at the expense of your peace. That's heavy. And with that being said, because we've been talking, I don't want to say abstractly, but we've been talking about others. But what does that look like for you right now?
Right now is finding moments of stillness, like whether it be driving in the car with no music on. Like I found solace in that, right? Whether it be taking a break in between sessions, right? Not scheduling things so tight. Been saying accommodating, saying like, I can't attend that event, and maybe next year I could attend. So actually, like being intentional about my schedule. So things
Mhm.
like that has really been monumental. Spending time with family and actually doing things, scheduling us to go out and having family days and things like that. So really prioritizing connection. And even with homies, like there's something I saw on TikTok called Waffle Wednesday or Wednesday Waffle. So you like use your phone and you like send like a video of like, yo, how you doing? Send an update, and then I send it to my homies on Wednesdays and stuff like that. So really, being intentional about reaching out to people and connecting, I think that's really important because we know the studies show with Black men, and as we get older, we start to isolate even more,
Mhm.
right? So I think getting the practice of maintaining good core people around me is really important with the boundaries and prioritizing peace and taking care of my health. Right, those are the things that I found really helpful.
So, what has been the response from you? Said your family, family nights. You make sure that they're there. What has been the response for you focusing on your piece from others?
So, I mean, my wife is like, "Yo, you're doing too much. You need to calm down." My mother's always worried about me, right? So, I think they're happy when, oh, you're not doing nothing right now. They're happy when I'm just laying down doing nothing.
Hmm.
Like it's like sit down. So it's like I'm being encouraged to do it. So it's a great thing. But it's like good. You don't have nothing planned. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that you're chilling. I'm glad that you're sleeping because usually I'm up early doing stuff, thinking. So it's just like they like when they see me being still. So
Hmm.
nothing but support.
Word. So, what's one simple reflection or reflection prompt or tool from the book that someone watching can try?
So one thing I want you to reflect on is where are you performing instead of just being, right? So that's one of the prompts. Think about in all that you do, where you're performing. In some area, you're not just present. That may be at home, right? So think about that. Where are you not just being yourself, but you're actually putting on a production, as I call it.
Hmm.
So really assessing that because that's exhausting, right? And I think picking up the ebook to give you some tools on that, recognizing it, journaling it down, right, and give you some strategies on how to navigate and how to deal with that. Because that's what the exhaustion comes in, to having to perform at work, right? I have clients talking about they having to put on whether it be code switching at work, right? Whether having to deal with microaggressions at work. I talk about that in the ebook as well, and it just weighs on you, right? So you have to perform, right? And then sometimes when you come home, you're exhausted, but then you feel like I got to show up for home also,
Yeah.
right? So now it's just a Broadway production everywhere. So where can you be your authentic self?
Hmm. Where can you? I'm sitting here asking myself that right now. I definitely could be that here, right? No
Right,
matter where you might be watching that, I can be that here because
right.
I'm definitely going to be. But I know it's some spaces where I may not be showing up as my authentic self. I may be performing. So I thank you for giving me that prompt to consider. Listen, time has going that fast, man.
Wow.
How can folks support you and stay tapped in?
All right, so you can catch me the black_therapist on Instagram. I have and I'm actually coming out with another ebook for the Black Kingsy Therapy too. So that's going to be specifically for black men. And I have the hidden cost of black exceptionalism. You could tap in if you want to, book me to speak at your event. I'm building this work in community, right? So tap in with me and let's do it together.
Listen, man, I want to thank Arron Muller for joining me today, and I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. And remember, when it comes to men's mental health and wellness, the road isn't easy, but it's worth it. Peace.